Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, my very special guest is Vaughn English. He is the B2B sales manager at Fracture. And Vaughn is a growth-focused sales leader. He has over 10 years of experience driving revenue across industries, including digital marketing, 3D visualization, tourism, and insurance. He has a track record of building high-performing outreach strategies, leading cross-functional teams, and closing complex B2B deals. Vaughn specializes in leveraging CRM platforms, marketing automation, and creative campaigns to engage prospects and accelerate the sales cycle. And I'm going to be sure to ask Vaughn about that. From launching national tourism campaigns to scaling 3D content solutions for enterprise clients, Vaughn brings a consultative approach. Say that again, Wendy. Consultative approach that aligns client goals with actionable solutions. Vaughn thrives at the intersection of strategy, creativity, and execution, consistently turning opportunities into lasting partnerships. Welcome, Vaughn.
Thank you, Wendy, for such a nice introduction.
Well, and thank you for writing it. So here we are. Happy to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be on. I'm sure we're going to have some excellent conversation. My brain is full of sales. That's just who I am.
Okay. Well, then we're going to do it. Let's start at the beginning, which is where I always begin. Give us your backstory. How did you get into sales? How did you end up at Fracture?
Yeah, so I guess at the very beginning, typically someone who isn't successful in theater, they typically end up in sales. It's kind of just the natural occurrence of things because if you don't have stage fright, you'll do very well in sales, right? You got to be able to talk to people. One of my first sales job, one of the worst, but still a really good learning lesson, was selling direct TV inside of Costco's. Let me tell you, that was rough. But only someone with a theater background could overcome the stage fright of talking to random people who are trying to grocery shop and selling them on a service they have no interest in. But from there, I continued sharpening my skills. And yeah, now I'm here at Fracture. And this is certainly one of the more prestigious roles I've had compared to my past. It's great to kind of see that I'm continuing to go up the ladder. And Fracture's awesome. It's a really interesting company, and I'm in an interesting position because they've been very consumer focused for the entire existence of the company. And they've had some B2B, sales, but they've never had someone focused on, retaining those partnerships, continuing those partnerships and, bringing in more business, and also going out and finding partnerships like those big B2B partners that we have and continuing to grow that book. So I'm in an interesting role where a company is very well established. People know Fracture. We have a very strong, consumer side, but I need to grow the B2B side to be, as strong as the consumer side. And that's quite the task.
Okay. So for people that do not know Fracture,
Sure.
What is Fracture?
Sure. Fracture is, simply put, it is art printed directly onto glass. So it's a pretty unique approach. Most people see art on canvas, or if you do see glass, it might be, plexiglass, or it might be an inlay or a wrap. and those don't look quite the same as being printed directly onto glass. Much more vibrant. We do UV curing of the ink, so it stays vibrant for much longer, and it just has a much more luxurious appeal when you see it. But yeah, primarily people use Fracture to, you know, put up their family photos, photos of their dog, photos from their vacation. That's primarily how people have been purchasing Fractures in the past. It's a really great gift for, Mother's Day or when, let me tell you, when Christmas comes around, that holiday season, we're slammed. You can't buy like it's 2 weeks out to get one. But B2B purposes, we're working with hospitality partners who want to, refresh their lobby spaces, guest rooms, hallways. And that's primarily what we're doing with Fracture.
All right. And so you are tasked with building out the B2B infrastructure and team. That's what you told me the first time we spoke?
That's right. So I am tasked with basically building it from scratch. We do have some pretty notable partners that we're working with already, which is really great because we're building out some case studies around that. That's one of the kind of first things you need, right? You need your arsenal to go to the meetings with. You need product menus. You need info sheets. You need lookbooks, which they did already have some really nice lookbooks, so we did have that to work with. But we don't have a whole lot of case studies, right? So that's another one where we have to put together some case studies for these partners. But yeah, building it from scratch is quite the task because people do know of us, but not in it's interesting, right? For a company that is of this size, a lot of my outreach is people have never heard of us and never seen us before. And it's interesting how big the world is, I guess.
The world is very big. That is
Yeah,
that is
there are
true.
a lot of people.
Lot of people. So as your mission is to build this out, what are the things you mentioned? Some of them, the case studies, the lookbook, the product information, all of that. What are some of the things you need to think about and start to put in place as you build out something from scratch?
Yeah, so kind of the start is finding which industry has the fastest conversions and has the best chance of having repeat orders. So ICP, right? And ICP has been a little tough to identify with Fracture. So it would make sense that hospitality would be, the strongest industry for us to be in because these are huge hotels. Of course, they need art and wayfinding, and who knows? The projects are enormous, right? But how often do those projects come along, right? I'm sure the process to get a new project approved within one of the hotel locations is pretty lengthy. And so far, my experience with these hospitality leaders, I happened to go to a trade show where I met VP of design for Marriott and all of these global leaders who are running these massive hotel chains, and it is a long process even to be considered. It is a multi-month process to work through the channel to get to the point where you could be a considered vendor, and then to even have a project come up is still months down the line. So who knows when that proposal is going to come along, probably later in the year, but I don't know if hospitality is the best choice, right? So we're looking at design firms. Design firms are pretty interesting, right? But this is all kind of identifying who is going to be the ICP for Fracture, right?
Okay,
So
I'm going to stop you for a minute. Let's define ICP for anybody that isn't sure.
sure. Yeah, so ICP is ideal customer profile.
Okay.
So your absolute best possible client, right? If you made a phone call, they heard about your product, not only would they immediately want to buy on the phone, they would continue to be a repeat customer, large orders. That's ICP, right? What
Right.
right? That's ICP. So I am still trying to find the ICP for fracture. It's not always immediate. You can do as much research as, ahead of time, but really a lot of the education comes from having actual conversations with the leaders in those different industries. So I had that opportunity with the hotel resort design show in Miami. I got to meet a lot of hospitality leaders, and I got to discuss, what we offer and how it makes sense within their current project pipeline. And it turns out I don't know if hospitality is going to be the ICP. So it's still something where I'm working through. I think it's going to end up being higher education. That would be my bet based on my
Wow.
time so far. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Why are you thinking higher education? I would never have guessed that.
Sure. So students, staff, schools are always refreshing their hallways. I mean, we currently work with Boston College, and they have just massive projects they send to us just on a regular basis. Sometimes it's staff, sometimes it's new decor, but it's pretty often like, new students are coming in, old students are going out. They need to put up, new recognition plaques up on the wall, and having Fracture as an option that is low cost, really sleek, easy to install, it's a no-brainer. So a lot of those conversations have seemed like, yeah, okay, it seems like higher education is probably going to be our ICP.
That's very interesting. One of the things that I always tell my clients that are kind of uh, starting out wanting to grow more business, once
Mhm.
once they have some clients, I tell them, look at your clients. Who's
Right,
buying a lot from you and they keep coming back and buying more? Go find more like that.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Whoever your, top client is right now, look up their competitor. Unless what you're offering is marketing, then don't do that. Don't do that because that's real bad.
Right.
One of my previous roles in digital marketing, that was actually a guarantee, which was we would not work with your competitor if you worked with us. So basically guaranteeing that, the work that we're doing for you is going to fully benefit you, because it wouldn't work in digital marketing if both you and your competitor have the same marketing company. It's not going to work.
That is true. That is true. So I wanted to ask you, when I did your introduction, one of the things that you said was that you specialize in leveraging CRM platforms, marketing automation, and creative campaigns to engage uh, prospects and accelerate the sales cycle. So I actually have two questions. The first
Sure.
question is because I've seen some of the posts you've made about the importance of CRM, and I kind of like your take on this because I keep running into business owners, leaders that actually aren't using any CRM, or they leave it up to their team. And so I'm curious on your take about the importance of having some kind of CRM.
Yeah, so CRMs are a necessary evil, in my opinion. And there's a lot out there. And I mean, we're gonna get into a rabbit hole a little bit here, because technology is so broad now. It used to be like 5 years ago, like your CRMs were like Salesforce and HubSpot. Like that's the only ones that really like mattered or existed. There might have still been some other ones like under the radar, but you really only went with one of those two. Now there are hundreds, if not, thousands of different CRMs that exist out there. Everybody, because with AI, it's amazing how quickly you can just spin up a new platform, new website, and bam, you have a new CRM that doesn't work. But so Salesforce, not a fan of. HubSpot is difficult for a business owner that is using spreadsheets to track all of their clients. It is a pretty steep learning curve. So you would basically need to have someone either on staff, or you would have to pay for professional help from the HubSpot team to get it set up. So that barrier to entry is pretty high. But I do think you should have a CRM. I mean, it is essentially like saying, I prefer taking my notes pen and paper versus typing them out on the computer, right? There are faster and more efficient ways to use the data that you have when you have a software that works. Um, that being said, HubSpot is going to be very tricky for someone who isn't tech savvy, and it becomes very costly very quickly. But I know how necessary HubSpot is, and I basically tell all my all the leaders that I work with when I go into my sales roles, like we need a proper CRM because that allows proper tagging. Whenever you do end up wanting to set up email campaigns or re-engagement campaigns, having that CRM already set up and ready to go is real nice. And you just plug and play, campaigns go out, and it saves so much time in the long run to have a CRM that's working.
Yeah, I often wonder, and there are CRMs out there that are much simpler to use.
There are.
I think there's a big difference between marketing automation and doing those marketing campaigns and the type of software that a salesperson needs simply to be able to reach out to prospects and stay in touch with prospects and also clients. And
Right.
unfortunately, so many of the CRMs make it really difficult for salespeople. And that's why the salespeople don't use it.
Yeah. It's they're very complicated. I mean, I can't think of too many CRMs where you could drop someone who you would have to have someone who is very tech savvy, who has used a lot of CRMs and softwares in the past, and still even dropping them into that a brand new CRM environment is going to be tough for them. I mean, HubSpot, like as much as I've used it, it's still a complicated beast. And I'll be asked, "Hey, we need to set up new labels, new workflows." And it's like, okay, well, that's going to take that's going to take a little bit of time to get that all set up, even as familiar as I am with the platform. And personally, I think the better CRM right now is High Level, but High Level is even more complicated, but it is more cost effective. You get more tools out of it, but it's a really complicated CRM. But if you get it working, it is the best CRM, in my opinion, right now. There's probably going to be something new in the next year or two, but High Levels, I think, currently the best for your buck.
Okay. And since we're on the topic, I'll give a shout out to One Page CRM for all the small business owners
Oh, yeah.
that are not tech savvy. Really easy to use and very, very inexpensive. Or if you're doing telephone prospecting, Contact Science. Those are my two shout outs.
Okay. Okay. I'll have to check those out after we're done here today. I haven't heard of either yet, right?
Okay. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, switching gears a little bit, uh, tell me about using all these different tools, the marketing automation, um, the CRM, um, creating campaigns to engage prospects and shorten the sales cycle,
Sure.
especially because you have one salesperson right now, right? You're
That's right.
almost a one-man band.
It's almost a one-man band. The other person who is on my team, she is fantastic. She's a little bit more in the account management part of the sales role, where she is taking in the new projects. She is managing our current large clients, understands them very well, and she does a really fantastic job with that. And but she's very busy on that front, right? So she only can dedicate so much time to the hunting and gathering part of sales, right? Where you actually have to go out. But yeah, I can talk a little bit about the campaigns I'm building out. So I do believe cold email is one of the best outreach tools out there, at least strategies, right? It helps you with tremendous volume. It helps you get in front of leaders that otherwise you wouldn't be able to via phone call. I mean, you can. There are certainly ways to get like someone's cell phone number, but that's weird. I still think it's kind of weird to just out of the blue call someone's cell phone and they're like, "How did you get my number?" And that's a whole fight right away, right?
I call cell phones all the time. It's
Sure.
never a problem.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I'll do it if I look, I do it, but I typically try and warm them up to who I am first.
Mhm.
Like that's typically the strategy, right? It's typically an email sequence. And if I'm not hearing from my target after a couple emails out, then I'll make a call. I try to work the phone tree because that does seem like a okay, this makes okay, obviously they found the number this way and they work their way up. But anybody who's not like that into like enriching data and understanding like how much information about people is out there, it's pretty scary getting a phone call from someone you've never heard from before. And one of the first questions is typically like, "How did you get my number?" Right?
I'm going to disagree. I
Okay,
mean, before I do a lot of cold calling. Before COVID, my process was always call the office. If I couldn't get through in the office line, I would call the cell phone.
sure.
Now I just call the cell phone.
You go straight to the cell phone, huh?
Straight to the cell phone.
Okay.
Never, I introduce myself. I tell them why I'm calling. Never have a problem. Where did you get my number?
You never have someone say, "Where did you get my number?"
Very rarely.
Interesting. Okay. Um, well, yeah, I
Try
mean,
it out.
I'm gonna have to try it out then, I guess. Um, yeah, no, I typically try to work through phone trees or call directly into the office line. That typically is, I don't know. I have a weird hang up about calling people's cell phone, at least as the first interaction. I typically like to warm myself up with them, with the email sequences, make it very clear that, I am specifically reaching out to you. I want to work with you and your company. My emails are very well researched and very personalized. And so typically I pick out a subject that is only relevant to their business. So I'm actually doing a campaign to Ben and Jerry's right now, and I can kind of get into this software, but I am tracking companies who are showing intent signals to buy our product. I don't know if you've worked with intent software before, but it typically what it does is it gathers all the searching activity via Google or whatever they might be using. Not DuckDuckGo. If you're using DuckDuckGo, you're safe. But if you're using Google, it basically gathers that activity. It is then, given to data brokers. Then you have these massive companies like Bombora, Zoom Info has their own intent signals. They basically have all this data and then can then categorize it into, okay, this company and their employees are looking for business signage. And their search activity shows that they are doing so. So Ben and Jerry's popped up on my list as, hey, people at Ben and Jerry's are looking for new signage. So I've put together a very personalized campaign to, some select individuals at Ben and Jerry's that make the most sense that could be buying business signage. And it's, hey, from flavor graveyard to your walls. That's a subject line that only works for Ben and Jerry's. That's not going to work for my higher ed, ICP. And so they're going to, one, that'll help you with your click through rate. They're actually going to open that email. And then the rest of it is, what's the use case for business signage? Well, maybe they want to showcase, some Cherry Garcia up on their walls, right? And I tell them, hey, I already have a mock-up already done. You can see it right on our glass right now. And I'll send over an image. And we have a pretty cool software, which you can do right now on the Fracture website. You can take your image. It'll create exactly what it's going to look like, one holding in your hands and one sitting over your fireplace. It's pretty nice. So you actually get like true sizing of what the image is going to look like. And so far, those kinds of campaigns are performing very well. So that's my current approach. If I don't get replies back, then I call them. And typically by the time they've gotten a couple of my very nice personalized emails, they're pretty warm to the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions I do want to ask you, uh, because as I was preparing for this interview, I asked you what drives you crazy about managing a sales team. And your answer was it's a struggle to straddle the line between micromanagement and driving my team crazy. So how do you straddle that line?
It's tough. It's tough. I like to put a lot of trust into the people I manage. I didn't hire specifically the current person who's working for me, but when I've hired people in the past, I really only hire people I know I can trust 100%. And there's a lot of like upfront indications that someone is going to be fully trustworthy. Showing up on time to their interview, doing the research of about the company, the way they speak, the way they really pay attention to their subjects. And so I really like only bringing people onto my team that I have that instinct that I can trust them a lot, right? Like that trust level is like 80, 90%. So then the rest of the like helicopter parenting I have to do is only about 10%, right? And um, because of all the softwares we're using, the CRMs and for the emails that my current team member works with me on, I can see the BCCs of her emails. So I can see the activity throughout the day. I can see how she is interacting. I can go into the CRM and see what other activities she's working on. So I have a little bit of some transparency into what she's working on. So I can go and take a peek and say, okay, she's doing her work, and I can focus on building out more personalized campaigns and making my calls and building out our reports. So the micromanagement kind of comes from where I notice in that like kind of window of the work where certain things kind of fall through the gaps. And you can kind of tell with just about anybody you work with where there is not as much focus in what they're working on. So, for example, in this one, it's um, the rhythm of a new lead coming in who is interested in a project and how many times you should be reaching out to them is it should be pretty high, right? At the very beginning, if someone sends you interest and says, "Hey, I have a project," you should email, you should call, you should email, you should call, and you should basically run that the whole week until they say, "Okay, I'm not I'm not doing a project anymore," or they're like, "I'm so sorry, I was so busy," right? You have to hit them over and over and over again. And that's something where I can see in the CRM if deals, go beyond a day without any activity. So once I see like 2 days of inactivity on a deal that has just come in, it's like, okay, I'll ping her and say, hey, what's going on with this one, right? And then she will be like, oh, I probably need to, do another email out to them or another call out to them, right? So I can kind of see there that like, okay, there needs to be a little bit more micromanagement on brand new deals, but projects she's working on, every time I take a peek in on projects, it's up to date, good notes, clearly has good activity. It's like, okay, I can kind of rest my mind on her project management. It's very clear she's working hard there. It's very clear that projects are moving at a brisk pace, but new leads need a little more attention. Hopefully it's a long-winded answer, but hopefully
Yeah,
that provides some good information.
yeah. Well, it sounds like she needs to use her CRM a little bit better because it should pop up that she didn't hear from them and she needs the call.
Yeah, the CRM and that it's a little bit of a tech gap as well because it does. I've set up the CRM that it assigns tasks if there's no activity after so many days, and that's something where right now it's because we're building this program from scratch, and she has so much on her plate when it comes to project management. I mean, our current project that we're doing with Boston College, I mean, she has a lot to work on, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot of time to go after new deals. So that is where I have to kind of step in and take over some of her deals here and there where tasks are falling, behind schedule.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, this has been such an interesting conversation. If people want to get in touch with you, Vaughn,
sure.
how can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Vaughn English. Pretty easy to spot. I got really nice photos as my bird photos as my header. So pretty easy to spot. There's not a whole lot of Vaughn Englishes out there, but so pretty easy to spot there. And then, if you do want to, if you're interested in some glass or glass prints, Vaughn.English at fractureme.com.
And we're going to make it really easy if you'd like to get in touch with Vaughn, because um, Vaughn's LinkedIn profile and also his email will be in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link, or email Vaughn, connect with him. You will be glad that you did.
Yep.
And Vaughn, I've really enjoyed this. Will you put your hand over your heart and promise me you'll come back and we can talk some more?
Of course. Be happy to come back if you want to talk a little bit more AI or tech next time.
Okay. Well, that would be great. I tend to be a bit of a techno moron, so you can enlighten me on some of these things. That'd be great.
Well,
And
yes, thank you so much, Wendy, for having me on. It's first time someone has asked me to do an interview, and it's been very fun.
okay. Well, cool. So we will do it again. And shout out, thank you to all of our listeners. You've been listening to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders with my very special guest, Vaughn English, who is the B2B sales manager at Fracture. And if you have found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one sales leader, one business owner, one president, CEO, sales manager, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.